Hello everyone. Welcome to Biology with a Difference with your instructor Babita Rani. I'm not a tech freak, but I'm making this video just on demand of my students by learning technology day by day. So let us begin our learning by making a simple affirmation that I'm learning every day through chunking and I'm improving myself by each passing day. So let's begin the class. Today I'm taking a topic from class 10, life processes. What are life processes? Life processes are those physiological activities taking place in any living organism which is essential for an organism. Let us see it in more details. It is a process that perform together to maintain life. That means they are vital for our survival. Without these processes, we will not be able to survive. They regulate all metabolic activities. What do we mean by metabolic activities? We sum total of all the reactions taking place in our body is known as metabolism. It comprises of two different stages, that is, there are two different types of steps. One is anabolism and the other is catabolism. Anabolism is a reaction where something is being formed, formation takes place. Whereas in catabolism, something is being broken down. For example, the food is being broken down into its smallest particle. So, after digestion glucose is formed, that glucose is being converted to glycogen. This is an example of anabolism. So sum total of all the reactions in our body are the metabolic activities, and life processes, metabolic activities are regulated by different processes that we will study in this chapter. They are vital for our survival. Without these activities, we will not be able to survive. They are required for growth also. That is, we see living organisms are recognized as they grow from plants begin their life with a single seed, and we have huge big plants, whereas animals begin their life with a small zygote, and they pass through different processes, and that is growth is taking place in both plants and animals. Besides this, how can we identify that they are living or non-living? Uh, Living organisms generally they move from one place to another, but movement movement is visible only in case of animals. We see animals moving from one place to another. How can we say that plants are also moving? There is some kind of movement in plants also. So what kind of movement is there in case of plant? They have molecular movements. So movement and growth are two things which are seen in living organisms, and for both of these life processes are important. Now for life processes, all the life processes that we will perform, our body will require some kind of energy. What are the life processes that we are going to study in this chapter? We are going to study nutrition. What is nutrition? Nutrition, as you might have studied earlier, it is taking in something from the environment that will provide you with some kind of uh, energy. But in nutrition, what do we take from environment? We take food from the environment. That food, after digestion, the process in case of human being is known as digestion. After digestion is mixed with oxygen to produce energy. and this we will study in respiration. What happens in case of plants? Plants take in water and carbon dioxide to perform photosynthesis. That is their mode of nutrition. So we take food from the outer environment. Animals take food from the outer environment, water from the outer environment, where plants take water and CO2 from the outer environment. Whatever food we take, that after digestion combines with oxygen to release energy, that we will study in respiration. Then whatever has been digested is distributed to different parts of the body with the help of blood in case of animals, and that is, we will study that in transportation. In case of plants, water has to be transported, and after food has been formed, food is distributed. So distribution of water and food we will study in transportation in case of plants. And during all these different activities taking place in our body, some waste material is always generated, and that has to be excreted out from our body, that has to be removed from our body, as they will act as toxins in our body if they get accumulated, and that may harm the organism. So that is what we call as excretion. So we will study 4 different physiological processes in this, both in plants and animals, that is nutrition, respiration, transportation and excretion. Now let us discuss the in-text questions that we have in our NCERT book. Why is diffusion insufficient to meet the oxygen requirements of multicellular organisms like human? What are multicellular organisms? Organisms which are made up of many cells. Suppose we have 2 organisms. The upper one is a unicellular having single cell which is exposed to environment. So it can take oxygen from different parts of its, and oxygen reaches to the cell very easily. But in a multicellular organism, if this is taken by this cell, this has to be passed on to the other cell, it has to be passed on to the other cell, and that diffusion is a very slow process. So that takes longer duration to reach each and every cell of an organism. That is why we say diffusion is insufficient to meet the oxygen requirements of multicellular organisms like human. What criteria do we use to decide whether something is alive? Two things that we discussed in the last slide. One was growth and other is movement. Besides this, you might have studied in earlier classes that living things can respire, non-living things cannot respire, living things can reproduce, non-living things cannot reproduce, but living things can move from one place to another, or living things show movement, living things can grow. These are some of the criteria. Living things can eat, non-living things cannot eat. These are some of the criteria that we use to decide whether something is alive or not. What are outside raw materials used by an organism? We discussed this in the last slide. For plants, it is water and, let me write it over here. For plants, it is water and CO2. For animals, it is water and food. What processes we take in oxygen also? During respiration, both plants and animals take in oxygen. What processes would you consider essential for maintaining life? So the 4 processes that we are going to study in this chapter, that is respiration, nutrition, transportation and excretion, is necessary for maintaining life. Thank you. We will meet again tomorrow with nutrition in plants. Hope you have a great learning.